Hello, and thank you for joining me today. I am Jenn Terry, and I'm the Vice President of Strategic Initiatives at Joveo. The reason that I'm doing this video today is to help my brethren in the talent acquisition space with some of the questions they might come up against or need to consider when looking at a programmatic job advertising solution. As many of you know, I have recently come to Joveo after about 20 years at AT&T, and one of the biggest accomplishments of my AT&T career was really transitioning away from the commoditized big purchases of job postings and really more into an on-demand based purchasing cycle, I guess you would call, right? So that way, as the economy ebbs and flows, you really have the opportunity to scale up or scale down depending on what your needs are. So when I had the opportunity to take one of my favorite things from my entire career and turn it into my full-time job, it made great sense for me to be here at Joveo. And I hope that this video makes great sense for you as you're looking at considering switching some of your spend to a programmatic advertising platform, or you're choosing that platform specifically. So today we're going to talk about how to select a programmatic job advertising platform and what questions you might ask. So one of the very first things that is important is understanding what online recruitment marketing channels are supported. How many job sites or publishers are on the platform? Can you buy and access media across all of your sites? And most important, can you manage all of your media in one place, your existing slots, duration-based postings, all on the same platform? And can you advertise your jobs and retarget your candidates? You guys probably know I love retargeting. Can you do that on Google and social channels and the whole World Wide Web using the same platform, right? So as we've gotten more sophisticated as marketers, we've relied more on general websites than maybe we have on just the traditional job sites. And if you're doing that or thinking about doing that in the future, is there a way that you can see all of your results in one place? So that's the first thing, online marketing channels. The second thing is the job ad exchange. And one of the reasons that programmatic or pay for performance advertising is so much more cost effective, besides not having to purchase big bundles all at once, is understanding that there's an exchange or a group of publishers that you can use to promote your jobs. So you really want to understand from whoever you're considering what types of publishers are included on their exchange. Again, we're getting much more sophisticated, so we want to understand, are there search and social platforms available via the exchange? The other item is transparency, right? You may be okay buying from a really big exchange marketplace and just knowing that that came from the exchange, but you probably want to consider, do you need to understand individual publishers behind the exchange? And then you also want to look at, is the pricing based on performance, like clicks or applies, or is it a percentage of media spend, or is there a fixed fee? How do you pay for that ad exchange? So those are some really good kind of top level questions. Then you start to get into the actual capabilities of a platform. You want to understand things like maybe you have more than one type of job or different locations. So can you allocate budgets? Can you view insights by a campaign or a job group? Maybe you just want to know what's happening in retail and customer service, or just engineering. The other big capability around automation is how if you need more applicants or less applicants, right? If you need to kind of scale that, what's your opportunity there? Can you optimize the job? Can you set up rules for automation? Right? There's nothing more effective in my world than being able to say, I want to get X number of applications, and once I do, don't spend any more money, right? That way you're not overspending or underspending for what you need. And then also, like, the ease of those automations. If somebody needs to be a programmer to do that, you probably need to know that before you go committing your current resources to that. And then the final item on segmentation and automation is your programmatic solution smart? Does it recommend publishers based on your goals and your previous results? How can it help you move forward? The next thing is data and analytics. And we talked a little bit about this on a couple of slides ago, but I think it deserves a space of its own, right? So the first thing is, can you track all of your metrics? Can you start from click and get all the way to hire in one platform to see what sources are actually working best for you? Can you, again, see all of the job boards, the search engines, the social, and even organic results all in one platform? It's good to know if something comes from a publisher, but if that publisher has both paid and organic results, it's invaluable to be able to understand where your candidates and hires are coming from. The other thing that is really interesting and will become more and more important as time progresses is if your programmatic solution has the ability to track job seekers all the way through the funnel without using cookies, right? That's incredibly important, particularly as we start to look at data privacy and as rules change. And then again, organic applications and understanding that your dashboard and how you're going to use it. Is it customizable? Do you need to be able to look at different things? How deep in information? All of that. Make sure that the analytics provided by your programmatic advertising solution covers all of those. And then I start to think about, okay, so if you've done all of this and you have all of this information, you're going to come away with some insights. And one of those insights, undoubtedly, more often than not, comes to a place where once you have all this transparency, you see all of the applications or all of the clicks that you're getting that don't actually turn into job applications, right? It's the most frustrating thing ever to think that you've put all of this work into getting these really high quality applications and they don't actually convert to a job seeker. So really understand, does your programmatic provider have a solution that will allow you to enhance the experience so that you can improve your click to apply conversions? There's a million other reasons to improve your job application experience, don't get me wrong, but really, for the purposes of this, your click to apply is the difference in all of your money. And particularly now that jobs are being done more on mobile phones, particularly for entry level, is your applicant tracking system and your job application experience, is it doable on a mobile device? Can you retarget and re-engage job seekers that don't complete the application? If somebody starts and drops off in the middle, like a bird in the hand is with two in the bush. I think that's the old saying that my grandma used to tell me. But can you retarget and re-engage people that start but don't finish? And do you have the data to do that from your system or from your programmatic advertising solution? And so if you have all of that, right, all of those are, I think that those, we start to get into the table stakes. Then we start to get into the experience itself. And that's when we look at product usability. How much training is necessary to use the platform, particularly if you have a large team that you'll be looking at to facilitate your advertising purchases in a programmatic way? How much training is necessary? And how quickly will your team be up and running? Very, very intuitive is incredibly important, and particularly around those automations and making the system work for you so that it's not a recurring deal. Being able to do those in a really smart way is incredibly important. Next, we'll look at service and support. Things that could be important to you are levels of service, hours of support, how much assistance you have. Is there a managed service offering where you maybe have to do far less and somebody does that for you with your direction? You also probably will consider the implementation process and how much of your team's time that will take, as well as what technical resources it will take for implementation and beyond. And you'll probably want to understand if there are costs for support, and if so, how much, right? Like what does that look like? Is that on a ticket basis or an hourly basis? You'll have to consider that when selecting your solution. And then Finally, pricing, right? So we talked about all of these things. There's lots of options. You may choose different things or different levels of service. And based on what you choose, what is the cost structure? Is it a self-service model? Is it based on a percentage of your media spend? If you offer managed services or you want somebody to do more of the work for you, even in just a short period of time, what is the difference in cost? Are there minimum spend levels or commitments? All of that combined with the features that you decide are important to you will make up what is a comparable pricing structure. When I think about the pricing and all of the features and all of those things that we just talked about, all of those are really important, but none of that matters if there isn't an outlet or a way to distribute jobs and get candidates in the geographic markets that are best suited for your jobs. And in some organizations, particularly in my past, we actually, we had multiple countries that we were looking at supporting and potentially different users that speak different languages. So does the platform support multiple languages if that's important to you? What about multiple currencies? Can you imagine that you buy in one currency, but maybe you want to show everything in US dollars or in euro? So really understanding what are your currency and language needs and making sure that the solution can provide what you need there. And then, and that is all a way to get your globally distributed teams to have centralized visibility, right? And then even if you don't need this today, will you need this in the future? And particularly if remote work is possible, how are you going to facilitate that? So all of this is sort of getting to a place where you're doing the due diligence on who you're going to select as your provider. Some of the things that you may want to understand about individual vendors, like what is their roadmap? What's their research and development team look like? When was your last new feature release? What about product updates and enhancements? What's your downtime? Who are your clients? This is my favorite one. I love taking the opportunity while you are in the consideration process to talk with your final candidates and get direct clients so that you can really understand and learn about their experiences. I think that this really gives an opportunity for you to see in a real life use case how someone has benefited from using that particular vendor to accomplish the programmatic ad buying. I would also just add that nobody's going to give you somebody that's going to give a bad recommendation, right? Like we all know this. So understand that, it's going to be a client that's going to speak favorably, but really getting to specific questions about what's important to you as you're making your selection can really be the difference maker. And obviously, I have a position here, and that is that I believe Joveo answers affirmatively to everything that we have talked about in this deck today. But I also believe that there are some differentiators based on products, and depending on your specific needs, there is a parent provider or a few that you can shortlist and use everything that we've listed here in this short presentation to help evaluate against the other competition and options. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. And if you would like more information about Joveo and our capabilities, you can go to www.joveo.com/demo. It's been great talking to you today, and please let us know if you have questions.